Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Hello, welcome back. You're listening to The Blockchain Show. This is episode number 166. I'm here today with a special guest from the other side of LA, Mr. Will Reeves. Will, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. It's good to be on.
Yeah, man. Thank you. It's a real pleasure speaking with you. Being all locked up and everything, it's good to have the podcast to connect to someone and bring a little cheer and, crypto enthusiasm to our audience.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to be where you are.
I have, technology applications and consumer and payment stuff for a while. It's pretty much what I've dedicated myself to for the past decade, doing it inside of large corporations to small, scrappy startups. I have all throughout that entire time, I've had a interest and relationship with Bitcoin. And for Fold, this has been the first time that I've been able to bring kind of my full self to a project. My belief in the potential and possibility of Bitcoin with the love for bringing new products and services to the world.
Yeah, man, that's good to hear. Tell us a little bit about Fold. I know you're the CEO, and I know you guys deal with some exciting new projects. Hopefully, we can get into. But maybe just tell us a little bit about how you got involved, how you came to be the CEO.
Yeah, definitely. With Fold, it was co-founded by Matt Luongo, and we had been working on a project at Google together. It was there where I learned about this new project that he was kicking off the ground called Fold and got to really follow that. And it was only about a year later, which I finally jumped into it entirely. And so from there, I took over and started leading Fold. And, it's been a wild ride. It's been about 2 years. And we have taken it from a website to a mobile app and now to a Visa rewards card after our most recent announcement with Visa last week.
Yeah, that's right. I was looking at that. That's pretty exciting stuff, man. I think that I've seen 2 other times since I've been doing this podcast, physical cards that people could tie their Bitcoin to. But how is this different? How does it work? Give us a little info on the mechanics there.
Yeah, so Fold is really about bringing novel and easy ways for people to start earning and learning about Bitcoin. And we've done that through shopping and everyday shopping and spending. And so, with the existing Fold app, you can link a credit card or a debit card, and you can purchase gift cards to major retailers, Amazon, Starbucks, Uber. And on every purchase, you get a % back in Bitcoin. And this product has been growing over the last 6 months. And our most recent announcement really builds on the work that we've done. And that's the announcement with Visa to launch this card. And this is a different card in that, number one, you're not spending Bitcoin. You spend dollars and you earn Bitcoin. And so this is going to create a way for people who use a familiar card every day, but we're just switching out the reward from Bitcoin or from airline miles or hotel points to Bitcoin. And it's really about just matching a familiar form that people are used to make Bitcoin a little bit more approachable and accessible. And that's kind of the thought behind it.
Yeah, it seems like people, they really want to accumulate Bitcoin, but it's not necessarily something that's being used to buy stuff. Kind of like the original vision of Satoshi Nakamoto was to send cash over the internet. We've seen it kind of become like a stock for some people. Some people call it a digital asset. What's your view on it? Do you think that it's mainly just to get it into people's hands, or do you want to see people start transacting with Bitcoin?
So the store value versus medium of exchange debate has been really at the core of Bitcoin for a very long time. And we've seen it do everything from cause forks in the network to embittered Twitter battles to, companies rising and falling on pursuing either of those use cases. And it's my firm belief that one of the magical properties of Bitcoin is that it's both. It provides the flexibility and freedom of cash with the upside of a high performing asset. And there's really nothing else no other money in the world that is quite like that. Gold does not have the flexibility of cash. It maybe has the upside. Cash is easy to use every day, but it's being constantly inflated. Its value is constantly being inflated away. And so Bitcoin sits in this really interesting middle spot where it has both of these properties naturally built into it. What we see is that, pretty much immediately after Satoshi, mined the first block, the use case to support the HODL use case the infrastructure has already been there. It's very easy. You basically need a send and receive function and you hold. And from that, there's not much technology that is required after that to really support that use case. Now we have things like that make it better, like multi-sig and other types of cold storage that make hodling safer, better, and easier. But really, coming right out of the box, Bitcoin has been able to support that. Now, for medium exchange, that requires much, much more infrastructure. It's not just sending and receiving to one person. It's the attachment to inventory, attachment to existing rails, the accounting of it, the actual separate POS system to receive the actual payment. There's just so much more involved in the medium exchange use case that the infrastructure really has not been there historically. We have things like BitPay, who did the first generation, and now we have ones that are taking it a step further. And you have things like OpenNode, you have things like Blue Wallet's new POS, Breeze had one, and obviously BTC Pay Server. And all of these are contributing to a infrastructure that will start to build the medium of exchange use case. And I firmly believe it's just is a function of that it takes more time to build that, and is why we haven't seen as much adoption. Of course, the taxability of it as well also makes it an issue. But I firmly and personally believe that Bitcoin will support both use cases.
Very good. One of the things I think is really cool, you mentioned earlier being able to get the rewards and getting gift cards. So essentially, if people are using their card enough, they can get rewards in Bitcoin and then exchange that Bitcoin for gift cards that they can use at places like Starbucks or Amazon. Is that right?
Exactly. So we basically convert your Bitcoin into a prepaid code at a given retailer. So it feels like you're spending Bitcoin, but really on the back end, we are converting it to a prepaid card. And this is just really to bootstrap the network, right? Not every business is ready to directly hold and accept Bitcoin. They're not interested in that at all. They just want more customers. And so Fold helps out by saying, we have a way to allow people to spend dollars or Bitcoin at your store, and we're going to increase your sales and drive more loyalty to it. And you won't have to hold Bitcoin. And we really feel this is an important middle ground to start getting more mainstream merchants and retailers familiar with the asset. And this is, again, why our partnership with Visa is so important. It's that the historical pattern of, a debit card tied to a crypto account and spending that has been tried over and over and over again. And we will continue to see that. But really what Fold has learned and unlocked is that by switching it from a payment to a reward, that is when you start allowing retailers, merchants, and people like Visa to get involved with Bitcoin without having to dive too deep into it. And so really, when you're talking about partnerships, it really opens up a lot of opportunity for people to rethink it, because it's not so big, such a big commitment to begin with.
Yeah, totally. And there's probably a lot more. Well, obviously, shoppers, people who just want to buy things, provisions and whatnot, than there are crypto enthusiasts who just want to buy a bunch of Bitcoin and hold on to it.
I mean, this is the bet that we're making, right? Is that whereas, the Coinbases and the Binances of the world have pretty much created a product that entirely caters to the speculator, the crypto enthusiast, the one who loves seeing the green and red candles going up and down across a portfolio of different digital assets, creating the kind of casino atmosphere. And Fold takes an entirely different approach, is that we think there are fundamentally more shoppers and spenders and speculators in the world. So we think our market is much, much larger, and we're catering to a different type of consumer, one that doesn't need an endless supply of new tokens being offered to them, that doesn't need the speculative, red and green candle environment, that really just needs something that gives them value on an everyday basis. And that's what Fold does. It allows you to, empower your spending by giving you more cash back in Bitcoin. So essentially trade your infinite, fiat money for scarce Bitcoin money. And that's kind of the what we're trying to do.
Wow. Man, that's just incredible. What if someone does have an existing wallet or maybe they came from a different Coinbase kind of atmosphere or something like that? Would they be able to integrate their existing coins with you? Or
So with Fold, we're not actually a wallet. So we just work with all wallets. So essentially you can use whatever wallet you like with Fold. And that's part of the thing, is that the design and progress of wallet design and technology is moving so fast that we've decided to leave that to the people who are fully dedicated to exploring that. And so you can, with Fold, you earn Bitcoin into your Fold account, and then at any time after reaching a certain threshold, you can withdraw it to any single wallet. So you could withdraw it directly to your Coinbase wallet if you wanted, or any of the other wallets that we recommend.
Okay. Coinbase was the first one that came to mind. I've actually never really got theirs to work. It seems kind of a little bit clunky for me, but man, that's really awesome. That's a pretty smooth interface there. Yeah, I hear lots of birds chirping. Where are you at in the world?
This is outside of Glendale, outside of LA. So lots of birds.
I love it. This is it's one of my favorite times to be in LA. It's a cool spot, though. What's the do you have much interaction around Los Angeles with other crypto and blockchain companies?
I'm primarily involved up in the Bay Area, in San Francisco. Fold has a lot of community employees out in Atlanta and, of course, New York. But I had never really been down in the kind of Los Angeles community or Los Angeles scene. And I had recently, probably over the past 4 to 6 months, been getting more and more involved, meeting more and more people. And it's been great, just in time for COVID to come and tell us all to stay in our homes and not go to these meetups. So these interviews like this are now my social outlets.
Yeah, it's a good point. I guess we're not getting out much for a while now. I think it's going to get interesting how that affects our kind of our economy as a whole.
I think to tie it back to this stuff, I don't think there is a better and more bullish context for Bitcoin to survive right now or to succeed. So it's certainly going to be nerve-wracking watching the whole thing happen, but I'm ultimately have a positive outlook on where we can end up after this.
Yeah, I kind of had a thought that maybe a lot of people would get their checks from the government and just turn it into Bitcoin, and what would that do to the Bitcoin community? And would that be a good thing?
Yeah, Cash App is leading the way. I don't know if you saw their newest announcement, but they have essentially created a funnel for you to turn that government check into Bitcoin via Cash App. I think they're directly processing these payroll protection checks, and right in the app you can turn that into cash to buy Bitcoin. So I think it will be interesting to see how many people do that.
So do you guys exclusively work with Bitcoin, or how do you feel about some of the other forked versions?
We're about adoption and introducing mainstream people to this new world of cryptocurrency. And when you talk to anybody who is not already embedded or already knowledgeable about this stuff, Bitcoin is crypto and crypto is Bitcoin. Back to my comment about, we're taking a very different approach to Coinbase. Our business model is not based on selling you as many different types of tokens as possible. It's about giving you a valuable experience while you're, spending every day. And so for Fold, it's really important for us to, number one, be very sure about what assets we introduce to our users. Number two, to do something that is familiar and that has itself been proven. Number one, to be independent, not captured by any special interests, and has a track record of performing over a decade time horizon. And really, there are not many others projects that really come close or fit that definition. Some things are doing interesting experiments, but they're certainly not things that we would want to introduce our customers to and expose them when we think they are very much satisfied with where they are with Bitcoin at the moment.
Pretty sound reasoning there. I like the philosophy. Say that there is a person out there listening who is new to cryptocurrency and they'd like to get involved. How prevalent would it be to them that they're getting Bitcoin, that they're going to be utilizing it? Is it something in their consciousness, or is it just completely on the back end?
We intend to create an experience that, has a fine balance between introducing you to a new asset, into Bitcoin, and to just being a great cash back app that, helps you, earn more money. The former means that maybe you don't have to say Bitcoin, but the aspect of us trying to educate more and more people requires that. And so you'll see when you use Fold, Bitcoin is mentioned. We take moments throughout the app and the experience to educate you on various aspects of it. And we do know that there are users who are turned away when they just see Bitcoin and may not download the app because they see it and just download a regular cashback app. We know that's there. And so we are trying to find ways to get that user, to pique that user's interest and not get them turned away just because they have maybe a bad understanding of what Bitcoin is, or had a bad experience with it, that we are able to re-engage them and turn them onto the right path. So it's something that we're constantly working on with the app.
Well, I think you guys have done an excellent job so far. I know what you're talking about. Some folks I talk to are either for Bitcoin or completely against it, so you got the whole maximalist to minimalist thing going on. I don't really know where that comes from. I guess some people, like you said, may have had a bad experience, or maybe there's a stigma associated from the early days when it was like drug dealers and gun runners and that sort of thing. But, we're really kind of, that's so far in the past now that if people can't really see the advantages, Yeah,
I mean, it's really hard to find something more fundamental to daily life than money, right? We have days of the week, we have money, and these are things that like construct our reality. And we have they're so common and so prevalent in our world that when they are changed or challenged, it makes people it causes very significant reactions, just like things like, hey, let's move to a 4-day work week, or let's have, universal basic income. These ideas that really change the playing field of where we are now, that some people, it scares them, and others it excites them. And Bitcoin happens to be one of those, because it's directly questioning money, and not only any type of money, but the US dollar, which is, historically the strongest, currency almost nearly in history. And so once you make anything or support a project or a product that does anything to question that dominance, it's going to get a strong reaction. And so to some extent, it's unavoidable, but I think it is not a lost cause to help and continue to educate people and create the conditions for people to see this, not get scared, but get excited. And I think Fold is trying to do the latter, about make sure that first interaction with Bitcoin is something that generates excitement and, delight, versus, oh no, you're going to tear down the world.
No, yeah, I really like what you said there. Just the whole concept of money in general is a kind of a key theme throughout this podcast. Going back to our second episode, we talked about the island of Yap, how they use these giant circular stones to transact money, and eventually they became too cumbersome to trade over the water, and they would sink to the bottom of the ocean. So they would give each other essentially like credit, like, yeah, that rock down at the ocean, that's yours, and then so you can have these goats, that sort of thing. Flash forward to now, I've got young children, teaching them about money. To them, it'd be just as easy to start teaching them about Bitcoin and that sort of thing. And I do to some degree. And then I go forward even more to like, their grandparents' generation. And yeah, it's almost like you're saying something offensive when you're trying to introduce this concept, because they've had this old system for so long, like their retirement's tied to the stock market. The stock market's on the US dollar.
You look at the boomer generation, and even before that, they were the the generation that was able to enjoy the high watermark of the U.S. economy and the strength of the dollar. Like their entire lives and everything, their economic positions is entirely given to them because they happen to live in this country that happened to have this economy that worked with the dollar, and all these kind of this brought all of their boats further and further up the economic scale. And so for them, this is, challenging the dollar is challenging something really fundamental to their own lives, to their own conditions. And so it's no doubt that it will, especially in older generations, this will cause a lot more backlash. But the good news is, you mentioned your kids, is something that we find with Fold is that the argument becomes easier and easier to make the younger the person is. And this is because, if you're, I am in the millennial group, and, we were born as a young age. We went through September 11th and the kind of economic crises that happened after that. Then right as we were achieving and entering the workforce, 2008 financial crisis hits right as we're trying to get into it. And then look, 10 years later or so, we now have COVID that has brought us into another one. So like our generation has grown up, been born into, this cycle of financial crisis, unlike the boomer generation. And for us, it's much more, it makes a lot more sense to look for alternatives because of that experience. And when you have even people who are younger than myself, who have grown up in environments where they are naturally using digital assets within games, within their educational environments, points and different types of, virtual money, V-Bucks, all of that comes together to just create a willingness, a curiosity about new forms of money naturally. And they don't really have this dogmatic, tie to ensuring the supremacy of the US dollar. And this is what I think is an interesting cultural shift. And we may see it even accelerate more as we go through this existing crisis, as, the money printer goes burr and, Bitcoin keeps on doing its thing with its scarce supply schedule. So I think the memes are getting better, but also the audience in which we're sending these memes to is also more receptive.
You're very well said there. And I know that you've had, some pretty noteworthy experience with large institutions, bringing the Google store to market is something, that kind of stuck out to me. I know that you're utilizing gift cards to kind of, I'm not sure what the right word here would be. Just to
bootstrap, to bootstrap the ability to use Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. And I'm curious, because I know that we talked a little bit about how on the shopper end, there might be a little bit of a challenge to get them on board. But on the institutional side of things, do you, since you've had experience working with some of these companies, do you sense like an apprehension to Bitcoin as well, or do you think that they're ever gonna come to a point where they would start accepting Bitcoin, or because it seems like they're pretty much fiat essentially? I don't know. Does that come from like a control sort of thing or fear? I've never really understood that.
Well, again, it's every major entrenched business now is making its money and being is successful on the conditions of the current economy, and some of them are optimized for things that Bitcoin may threaten, and that includes things like our big Visa announcement. They are entrenched players. Some of the retailers that we work with, entrenched, some of the largest retailers around. And so there's a good reason for them to be conservative, slow at adoption, and, circumspect about this whole thing. And so it's normally my job to find the people within the organization who already have a curiosity and openness and a willingness to experiment, empower them with the data and understanding so that they can make the case within their own company, and slowly things start to change. And so you can see, the first iteration with Visa was about spending Bitcoin, and you'll see they did that. They've worked with Coinbase on that. And really round 2 is about rewards. And so while officially these large companies may stay quiet about it or maybe make a comment here or there, I guarantee you there's work being done under the hood, and there are Bitcoiners who are working inside of those companies to help bring adoption in whatever way they can.
Yeah, I really like to hear that perspective. Thank you for sharing that with us. Another thing I really like is the obviously up to 20% Bitcoin rewards on purchases. Maybe you could tell me a little bit more about how that works. I know that would be tied to the credit card or...
So yeah, we work with retailers right now to get discount at their stores. And so we split that discount with the user. So we give the user some cash back in Bitcoin and we take some. So we split the margin that we get from our retailer negotiations. Some of them go as high as 20%. When you use Fold, you can get an average about 5% cash back when using your debit or credit card. But if you spend Bitcoin or spend via Lightning, we give you even more cash back. And the reason is we don't have to have payment processing fees. We are not exposed to fraud. And so those are two qualities that immediately make, Bitcoin as a payments network pretty attractive. And so, Fold is helping bring that incentive to the front, saying, hey, if you use Bitcoin, you will get a better deal, because the incentives that the network provides are such that we can give you that extra percent. We'll see both of that happen.
Awesome, man. The only thing I'm a little unclear about is the Lightning purchases. Could you expand on that a little bit?
So Bitcoin or Lightning is simply another layer on top of Bitcoin that allows for instantaneous, cheap transactions that preserve the underlying integrity of Bitcoin. So non-sovereign, not captured by special interests, censorship resistant and such. We have brought Lightning on because it creates a consumer experience that feels like a normal credit card payment. It's instant, but you're just using Bitcoin. And so we have been at the forefront of developing and integrating Lightning into our application because it creates a great user experience in a consumer retail environment. And so, we are again about educating people about Bitcoin, bringing them further down the rabbit hole. And part of that is introducing them to newer technologies. And we took a leap on Lightning, and it's worked out wonderfully. We have a not insignificant number of people start spending on their debit card or credit card and switch to using and adopting Lightning as their payment method on Fold to take advantage of the higher rewards.
That's excellent. And it kind of brings me back. I didn't know you were behind this, but the Lightning Pizza, man, something I heard about a while back, allowing people to order Dominos with Bitcoin. Are you still involved with that?
Yeah, so that was a 10% time project that we did at Fold. The team got together, scoped it out, planned it, and launched it within 30 days. And it was one of the first real world services built on top of Lightning that actually had a large amount of usage. I mean, people still use that every single day to buy their Domino's Pizza. But also it was a big test of the Lightning Network. And we, because of it was such a success, we brought it and integrated it directly into the main product Fold.
I love it, especially since, we all know about Laszlo and his pizza, the now famous first transaction, which I can't even remember how many Bitcoin he spent for a pizza, but it was something like,
at the time it was only worth, whatever it was, $10 in Bitcoin. But now it would be, millions. And that's the kind of funny thing about that meme is that, yes, that meme is great for showing how Bitcoin appreciates in value. But it also doesn't quite make sense. Laszlo didn't spend $10 million on a piece of pizza. He spent $10. And in whether he spent Bitcoin or cash, it really doesn't matter, because if he spent cash, he could have just bought Bitcoin at that level, and then he would have that 10 billion. So it's really an interesting meme up to a certain point, but I think we can still learn a lot more from it. And the lesson is just stack sats. Continue. If you spend, make sure you replace, and make sure that your HODL stash is where you want it to be.
Yeah, man, that's a really good point. So for anyone listening, obviously a lot of people are going through some economic hardships right now. I've got several friends who have been laid off or furloughed. They might be tempted to just cash out. I don't know. It's not so much a question, but maybe do you have advice for people who are down on their luck right now?
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I hope, and I myself make sure, in any investment or anything, is not to overextend yourself. And there are unforeseen circumstances that happen, like what we currently find ourselves in, that will throw a wrench into even the best, and best laid plans. And so if you need to sell to support your family, or to, put, whatever it is, I think, people need to make that decision themselves. And I would just advocate that, in the future, we should work on building products that encourage sustainable and rational adoption of Bitcoin. And this is another huge difference between, our approach and something like a Coinbase. Is like Coinbase's business model and its pitch to users is come to our casino and try to win $1 million. And for many people, that creates some dangerous habits that have, not the best financial outcomes for a lot of people. And so Fold changes it. It says, hey, we don't need to have this risk. And we don't need to be essentially gambling here. We can slowly and steadily build our position into this asset just through everyday spending. This Bitcoin is essentially free going to you. And you can do it just on your everyday spending, not making these, big leaps on any large purchase at one time of this asset that could go up or down, at the whim of the market. And so it's just really a difference of approach. And so I guess I don't really have advice for these people, except good luck. I wish the best for you, but I would more talk to the people who are building products now or have plans to build them in the future, is that we should be building things that are good for us and good for people. And so we can help those people who find themselves in bad positions. We can have products that actually speak to them in their position and not get them into that position to begin with.
It's very, very sound wisdom there. Thank you for that. So for me and for everybody else listening, what's the process to get one of these Visa cards in my wallet?
So right now we've opened up the wait list. So the cards will be wide release in Q3. They'll have an early release before then. And the easiest way is to download Fold on iOS or the Play Store. Right there, you can join the wait list. You can share with friends to climb up that wait list. Or if you want, you can try out Fold today and just use our existing gift card product.
Well, this has been a really good talk, Will. I thank you so much for your time and sharing a little bit of crypto cheer. It definitely got me more optimistic and enthusiastic about the future. I know these are some tough times for some people, so I'm really glad that we could talk today.
Awesome. It was my pleasure, and I'll come back for an update once the cards are released.
Yes, please do. Yeah, let me know. That'd be great, man. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, you too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Blockchain Show. My guest today was Will Reeves, the CEO of Fold, a tech entrepreneur with expertise in developing payments solutions. If you enjoyed that conversation and you'd like to learn a little bit more, you can go to their website, foldapp.com. I'm actually kind of excited to play around with that. The app is available on Android and iOS. And like he said, you can get Bitcoin rewards back up to 20%. In times like these, it might be a good idea to try new things, try to get a little bit more Bitcoin in your wallets. Feel free to stay connected. If you need to reach out to us, info@theblockchainshow.com is the email. We have a Twitter page @blockchain_show. You can find us on minds.com. My channel there is @KinderConnect, but the Blockchain Show has a channel as well. Where else? Facebook, we've got a group. We've got a YouTube channel, but it doesn't get a whole lot of action. I just put the audio up there. Got a lot of episodes to get to you soon. So, thank you to all those who have been downloading. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the show. Give us a good review wherever you get this podcast. And if you're not digging us so much, just send me an email and let me know what it is that needs to be fixed, rather than giving a snarky review that can kind of, even if it's warranted, it can kind of turn away potential listeners. My goal is to make this continually better. I appreciate your criticism, constructive or otherwise, to the email. All right, I think that's enough for me. Thank you, everyone, again, and hope you have a good week. Goodbye.